Welcome, my name is Bjorn, thank you for joining me today. We're going to be looking at a class that I kind of wanted to play since I started playing Dungeons & Dragons. I was made fun of heavily for wanting to play a Dritz-like character. If you run into that scenario, fuck 'em. I didn't even know who the fuck Dritz was in the beginning. So this class is pretty fun. It's going to require a bit of multi-classing. We'll go over some of those multi-classing requirements now before we jump right on into it. So as we can see here, I have a wide spectrum of stats. We are going to be multi-classing into Fighter, into Ranger, and into the Warlock. So the multi-classing requirements for Fighter is either a Strength or a Dexterity of 13. As you can see that we're covered. For a Ranger, the requirements is a 13 in Dex and a 13 into Wisdom. We have that covered. And in Warlock, it's obviously a Charisma of 13. So there's a bit of overlap. This character, I'm looking for a Strength build over a Dexterity build. This is personal choice. You don't need to do this, but I really like the thematic idea that I have with this character, where I'm going to eventually have possibly 2 to 3 hounds, and I'm going to be able to use a glaive from a distance, be able to get in and attack them, and have a bit of a barrier of entry towards me, and have that level of safety. Of course, these are, rolled stats. Best of luck rolling on your stats. I would suggest if you want to have higher attacks, go with either Strength or Dexterity with your highest roll. Just make sure you meet the requirements for your Wisdom and Charisma, and I like to have higher Charisma on all my characters, but yeah. Alright, and then to start, we picked the Variant Human here. I had a very, very hard time picking out a race here. I first started out with Wood Elf because I liked all that extra ability, the movement, the hiding abilities they had. I looked at the Half-Orc and even the Orc because I liked the strength and the con they had. In the end, I decided to go with a Variant Human for the first time. I like the idea of being able to gain a feat here because this character is going to have a bit of a not so graceful period between leveling up. For the ASIs, I decided to go with a Strength score increase and a Charisma score increase. These are the two scores that I'm focusing on most with this character. For the skill of choice, I decided to go with Perception. It made sense to me with me being a Hound Master that I also need to perceive whatever the hell these beasts are also looking at. That way I can hunt my quarry a bit easier. And for my feat of choice, I decided to go with my Great Weapon Master here. Again, I'm using that glaive. I'm going to have a bit of reach. I'm using a strength-based weapon. I really like Great Weapon Master. It's amazing. Of course, this is where you could go with Sharpshooter or another possible feat of your choice. And before we jump into the class, let's go ahead and look at the background over here. I decided to go with the Urban Bounty Hunter. I really liked this. It seems like a really cool idea. Maybe I don't even have my hounds at the beginning and I can bring them in naturally and get to know that kind of side of shit, which would be cool. I don't really mind. I'm leaving a lot of this background open so I can discuss it with my DM. The main things with this is that we gain the insight and the stealth. My character here is going to be wearing plate, so I'm going to have a disadvantage on stealth. It doesn't hurt to have that skill proficiency, regardless if you do want to use it, because you will have a better chance at stealthing. I mostly have this here because there's not many other options here, so you may not like this background, that's fair. I mostly liked it too because we gain the Thieves Tools, and we also get Ear to the Ground. This is a really, really cool background feature. Alright, and as we can see here, this is what I ended off with, what I felt like would be my ideal Hound Master. So I decided to go with a Battle Master Fighter up to level 3. I decided to go with Beastmaster Ranger up to level 7. I then decided to go into the Fiend Warlock to level 10. So let's go ahead on over this. For our first level of proficiencies, I decided to go with Survival and Athletics. I felt like it was befitting. This character was a strength based with athletics, so I would like to be able to grapple things better. I'd like to be able to have that side of me that's a very physical presence. And of course, survival I felt like was leaning in towards that ranger archetype that I can start to feel like I'm fitting into already. For the fighting style, of course, again, this is up to you. I went with the Great Weapon Master because I am going to be using a glaive. And the nice thing with the fighter is that we do gain proficiencies with all the armor and all the weapons, so this is a wide variety of what you can make this character out to be. Of course, we also get Second Wind at first level, amazing ability to have. Action Surge at level 2, awesome ability. And of course, at third level, we get to choose our martial archetype, the Battle Master. Now for the maneuvers of choice here, I decided to go with Distracting Strike, Maneuvering, Attack, and Riposte. Riposte is purely for just getting revenge mostly on people. Personally, I feel like this character would be a bit more of a spiteful asshole, and that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. So I like that idea, but then these two up here I felt leaned well towards the Beastmaster. Not only does Distracting Strike possibly help out your other allies, which I really like that, and it should probably be used more towards helping your other allies as opposed to your hounds, because we'll get into the hounds in a little bit. Maneuvering attack is pretty nice because later on we'll be able to maneuver one of our hounds as a bonus action to use their full movement speed. But then with this, we can make one of our hounds use their reaction to move up to half their speed, so we can make them move even further. So perhaps we needed our hound to catch up to us from finishing off some other prey that we were after, and they need to come back to us to help us, and they can have a lot of extra movement with this ability, or possibly just help out one of your other group members. But don't be a dick with this and attempt to, like, I've had somebody attempt to tell me that, like, no, I'm taking control of your character with this. Don't do that. You'll get a punch in the fucking throat. And of course we get the Student of War ability. I wonder if the cook's utensils. I gotta have a fucking hobby, right? Okay, and that was it for the Battle Master. That was all I felt that was really necessary with this character, that I felt that the Beastmaster Ranger was missing. And so this is the point in which I decided to finally go into the Beastmaster Ranger. At first level, we gain a new proficiency. I decided to go with animal handling. Again, we're a Beastmaster. We are handling animals. It made sense that I was working on my survival, then I was working on my animal handling, and now I finally gained proficiency within it at 4th level here. We gained some favored enemies at 1st level as well, so I decided to go with humanoids here. I really like the idea of being able to track humans and elves in this case, and I picked up the language of the Underdark. I just like that I'm tracking these humans and elves in like this urban environment, and possibly further out, and tracking them into the wilds, and I really like that. There's also possibility to just eventually just track all the were creatures, which would be fucking dope. But yeah, this is of course up to you with whatever you're tracking, whatever you feel like your character would have as a favorite enemy. I really like the idea of tracking all these humanoids. And of course, we also get Natural Explorer at 1st level. This is, again, one of those choices that are up to you. Of course, at 2nd level, we gain a new fighting style. Make sure not to overlap the fighting styles. They do not stack. It sucks to figure that one out. But yeah, so I decided that alongside with being wearing plates, I'm going to go with the defense, so I gain a +1 to my AC at all times. And of course, we get to choose our Ranger archetype now, and again, we went with the Beastmaster. So this is where we get our Ranger companion officially. Maybe you could have tried to get a Hound or something beforehand, but this is the point in which you can now actually have one in combat, maybe. So I'm not going to go over this ability too much. We get a CR of 1/4 or lower. It's not a very impressive beast. I would suggest possibly looking at the revised Ranger even. I think that Beast Conclave, it might be a bit better. I think they level up with you, but for now I'm just gonna go with this because this is what is on D&D Beyond, and it doesn't. You can house rule shit. You can ask your DM about stuff. And while we're on the topic, this is a wolf, for example, so it has a CR rating of 1/4 or lower. It says that we can only have one of these. I don't really like that personally. I like the idea of us having at least 2 to possibly 3. Even if we just have 2, that's pretty awesome because they have pack tactics here. So this applies not only to whenever there's another wolf, it would also apply to yourself. So the wolf has advantage on attack rolls against a creature if at least one of the wolf's allies is within 5 feet of the creature and the ally is not incapacitated. Of course, we add our proficiency bonus to the AC and the attack, so the AC at a level 20 for a wolf would be a 19, which is not bad. That's pretty decent. But yeah, keen hearing and smelling. This is an amazing ability. This is going to help you track people. This is going to help you track other animals. This is a beautiful pet to have, even if you're only allowed to have one in the end. This is the recommended pet, I would say, for the Houndmaster to take. Also, at 3rd level, we gain our Primeval Awareness. This is a pretty fucking dope ability. We use a spell slot and we're able to track things for up to a mile. Unless we're in our favorite terrain, we can track something up to 6 miles away. And this is where we get our first ASI from our classes. So we decided here to go with the Athlete, at least myself personally. I decided to increase my strength score by 1. This added an extra modifier for me, went from 18 base, 19 with the race, and then +1 from this, and now I'm at 20. So my strength in this world where I rolled an 18 somehow finally, I'm now at 20. At 4th level, we gain our extra attack. This is awesome. This is the only extra attack that we're going to get, so we don't need to worry about this multi-classing 6th level, we gain another favorite enemy. I'm sticking towards that humanoid side, so I've decided to go with gnomes and dwarves. This is really, it really does depend. I might go with the werebeasts. I really like that idea of just tracking these were creatures, and I've been sent into like these towns and cities where I'm hunting them down. And this is where I decided to go with the Infernal language for roleplay reasons. I felt like maybe this language, it just came to me, and I'm starting to understand it, or maybe I'm starting to study it and try and understand it, because I'm reaching out to what would essentially be my future, my Pact fiend, the fiend Pact or whatever. I can't word English word. What? Anyways, besides my minor stroke there, we're gonna go ahead and move on. At 7th level, we gain the exceptional training. I felt like this was absolutely essential for the Hound Master. I was thinking about maybe just going into fighter again for another ASI, but looking at this, I realized that without our beasts, they need to not only just to have this bonus action where we can make them dash, disengage, or help action, which is amazing, but that their attacks will count as magical weapons, or a magical attack, I should say. And without that, they would be severely underpowered, especially by this level. We're level 10. There's things that have resistance to all sorts of shit that we face by this point. This helps out so much with that. That's it for the Beastmaster Ranger. I'll go over some spells I chose. I decided to go with Cure Wounds. I figured I might need to be healing my pets at some point, or possibly the healer if they go down. It made sense to me. I really like Hunter's Mark for this character. I really like Jump, Long Strider, Pacified Trace. Very thematic and very fitting to what this character is all about. Alright, now finally we go into our Warlock. So, we decided to go with Pact of the Fiend, but before we get into that too much, this is where we are probably gonna house rule a little bit more with discussing with your DM, like seeing how cool this is, and if you're really into it, I'm sure like they'll be accepting of it. But one thing we could do is possibly look at getting ourselves a Hellhound. Now, how we could go about doing this, there's a few ways. Maybe at first level with the Pact feature that you're getting into. This is part of the deal with maybe like you extend not just only the powers that you're gaining from your Pact, your fiendish whoever overlord. I'm not sure what to call it in this case, but it also extends onto your Hellhounds. So let's look at what that could mean. So at first level, of going with Pact of the Fiend, we get the Dark One's Blessing. So starting at first level, whenever we reduce a hostile creature to 0 hit points, we gain temporary hit points equal to our Charisma modifier, plus our Warlock level. By the time we're at Warlock level 10, in our case, it would be a 4 plus a 10. That's 14 temporary hit points. That's not bad. So for this case, it would mean that all of a sudden, maybe this is one of those abilities that can extend onto what would either be our Wolf or possibly our Hellhound. And this would ease a bit of tension that I think personally that I would feel, because if we come back over here to our Wolf, we can see they have a hit point of 11. Like, that's nothing. That's disturbingly nothing. I'm fairly certain that like this in the revised Ranger that I was looking up, it levels up with you, but this is so much nothing. It's terrifying. But you know, if we come over to the Hellhound, if we convince ourselves into getting one of these, I'll get more into how we could do that. Like 45 hit points, that's not bad. But mainly with the Dark One's Blessing is that it would make it so that if we reduce another creature's hit points to 0, that all of a sudden we don't need to worry about healing up our hounds all the goddamn time. Even if we just have 2, those are situations in which they'll be in the, like they're going to be in the fray of it. They need to be useful, and if they're not, then why do you have them? Besides just, you know, like perception checks, which you can do yourself. And before we get into the Eldritch Invocations, let's go ahead and look at the Pact Moon. I felt like going with Pact of the Chain was quite useful here. I felt like instead of possibly taking up a familiar, this could be another point of entry in which you could say that you have a Hellhound. So instead of it being that you're able to summon an imp or a pseudo dragon, this is now the point at 3rd level Warlock that your hounds, your once wolves, transform and take on more aspects of that Hellhound. So maybe there's like smaller transformations here or there where you notice like there's aspects from the Hellhound onto the wolf, but that is up to your DM. But mainly with this, it comes with a lot of extra cool little benefits that you can do that really benefit the Beastmaster. I felt like the Beastmaster was kind of missing in my eyes, and I really like what that's capable what it's capable of. So with that out of the way, let's look at the invocations. Of course, with being a human, Devil's Sight. By 11th level, this is going to be a godsend. Like, fucking Christ. Holy shit. This is amazing. Anyways, besides that, I also decided to go with Beguiling Influence. I really like that I have this outerworldly patron now bestowing upon me something that I didn't know how to previously do, and maybe I feel like it's an out-of-body experience whenever I'm deceiving someone or persuading them now, because I'm saying all these things I wouldn't have said before, and that's weird. I didn't know I was capable of that. Well, cool, whatever. But this is the main part where I like. So with Pact of the Chain comes Voice of the Chainmaster. So with this, we can communicate telepathically with our familiar, in this case, our Hellhound, possibly, or just our wolf. And we're able to perceive through our familiar senses, as long as we are on the same plane of existence. Additionally, while you're perceiving through your familiar senses, you can also speak through familiar in your own voice, even if they can't normally speak. So this could have some really cool role-playing aspects to it, or even just combat beneficial aspects to it. So possibly your hound is tracking somebody while you're dealing with something else. So you can always you can keep track of your hound tracking this other person while you finish off this other bad guy, and then like your hound could be stalking this person and figuring it out, and like it's very similar to it's the exact same thing that you would be doing with your pseudo dragon or your imp or whatever, but in this case it just lends more towards that connection with that hellhound that you have or your wolf that you have. And I really like that connection. It really adds towards the Beastmaster that I felt like something that was missing for them. Also, I think it'd be really funny that if you had a really chipper character, and then all of a sudden, you have a hellhound that just speaks all politely and happy and shit. That'd be a really fun experience to have, but that's besides the point right now. So Pact of the Chain feature, I really liked that. The only Eldritch Blast cantrip that I thought was worth a shit for this character, personally, I kind of want to like steer clear of Eldritch Blast too much. I like that this its Grasp of Hadar, we can pull something into us 10 feet closer. So not only are we chasing and catching up, but we can, that'd be a terrifying thing to see. Like all of a sudden you see this crazy motherfucker just chasing up with you, to you, and he has these two hellhounds, and he like through some otherworldly force just pulls you closer to him, and he catches up, and all of a sudden you have the two hellhounds surrounding, and you can knock him on the ground and all that shit. It could be really fun and super intimidating. But I'm trying to avoid Eldritch Blast too much. I don't want to just be that generic Warlock. Eldritch Blast. Like, if you want to, good for you, but I'm avoiding that a little bit here. I'm focusing more on what we can do with our hounds, how we can benefit each other, and all that. And for the final pact, this is a 9th level one, so I could see you taking a different one because there's probably better ones. But I really like this idea of the ever-living ones. So whenever we gain hit points, while in this case, possibly our Hellhound, so within 100 feet of us, treat any dice roll as if you didn't roll it. It's just a max value, so it's like Beacon of Hope. This could be another one that applies. I'm not entirely sure if this applies to your Pact, the Pact of the Chain minion in the first place, but maybe this is one of those that could, furthering that they're able to live through a lot of shit, because by this level, you're level 19, like you're gonna be going through some crazy shit. So it would be really useful if you're able to heal them up fully without worrying about them so goddamn much. It just takes your mind off of that aspect entirely. Of course, it's still gonna be present. There's still gonna be threats, but you don't need to be freaking out all the time about your hounds dying. Alright, and for the 4th level ASI, I decided to go with mobile. I really like the idea of moving faster. I can run alongside my hounds. Take a dash action. Difficult terrain doesn't matter to us that turn. This is a pretty good feat. I really like it. There's also, this is one of those feats where maybe you just go with increasing your charisma or your wisdom or your strength score or your dex score. This is just an optional feat. You don't need this or whatever, but it's really cool if you can get it. So Dark One's Own Luck. This is an amazing ability to have. Add a D10 to a saving throw or an ability check. Now for the final ASI, I decided to go with the Prodigy feat. I decided to finally pick up Intimidation. I felt like by this point I have maybe 2 Hellhounds. I'm probably taking on aspects of my Pact Overlord motherfucker, and I felt like I'd be pretty intimidating by this point. Of course, any skills here that I've laid out, they're interchangeable. Take whatever you want whenever you want. I decided to go with land vehicles here. Main thing I wanted was expertise in athletics, and that was the main reason why I wanted to take the Prodigy feat. I really like that this character is excellent at grappling. They're able to capture their quarry. They're able to bring them back alive. Most bounties that I've you've read in fiction and shit like that, they want their bounty alive because either they want information out of them or they want to kill them themselves because of vengeance or whatever. So. And of course, at 10th level, we gain our Phoenix Resilience. We get to choose a damage type that we want, and we gain resistance to it. So it's pretty great. This character is pretty tanky already. If you think about it, we possibly have 2 to 3 Hounds with us. They could stand within a barrier and block off a lot of retreats or a lot of areas in which... and just put up a general kind of meat shield, kind of. And the meat shield would help, again, that would really help me having a meat shield with the Dark One's Blessing. Also, this character for myself is going to be wearing plates, so they have a pretty high AC. Also, the Hellhounds are going to have an amazingly high AC, so it's our proficiency bonus plus this, which they're going to have a 21 AC. We're going to have a 22 AC by the end of this, so we're going to be pretty hard to hit, so this character can be fairly tanky. And this also just adds on to, like, oh, we know we're going up against a red dragon. Let's take fire resistance. We're going up against a blue dragon, lightning resistance, or we're going up against whatever. You can take resistances and plan out and actually have more of that aspect of, the bounty that you're hunting. All right, and this is the overview. So, some make-believe stats here where I rolled really nice. If that would ever happen, it'd be nice. But, yeah, so +5 to strength, wisdom and charisma. Again, we have to just meet those multi-classing requirements. As we can see here, we have a pretty decent AC, pretty decent walking speed. Again, that animal handling is up there. The athletics at a +17. Love seeing that. Deception a +10. Insight, intimidation, perception, persuasion, stealth. Stealth is kind of ass. It doesn't really matter, even that we have disadvantage. I mean, it's gonna suck rolling stealth with heavy plate on, but maybe I'm not trying to play this character up too much to the stealthy side. I'm just trying to play this character more so as a physical, intimidating presence of just like you're just a scary motherfucker in the end of this, and that could be a fun corruption play style. Maybe you start off as a very good person, and then like all the friends that you've met throughout everything, like they're noticing you just changing into this evil, vile person that they didn't know before, and maybe that was the person you really were all along. But yeah, so that's the general overview of this character. I think I'm gonna leave it there. I'm not gonna go too much into it. So yeah, I got a Glaive and Eldritch Blast, all the spells and shit like that. This is a fun character to play. I think it will be. I think this will be a really fun character to play. But yeah. Have a great day. I hope you found some inspiration in this, and take it easy. Bye-bye.